Is my partner weaponizing the language of recovery?
Tyler, can I jump right in with a review that we got?
Let's get going, man.
It says, very glad to have the opportunity to call in. These guys ask great questions, have a wisdom about them and experience behind their words. They're full of compassion and care. Hopefully they are as big of a blessing to others as they are to me. Keep up the good work, Therapy Brothers. TMB.
TMB. That's awesome, man. Thank you. We know that this is someone who came on and was a guest on our podcast, and I just want to say it was a pleasure for us to visit with you, and thank you for your willingness to come on and sort of share this little tiny chapter of your story with other people so that they can benefit from it.
That guy's amazing. He first came on, was an awesome guest, talked openly about his own struggles and his own recovery and where he's at. And then he turns around and gives us a review. Like, that guy's freaking awesome.
What a stud, man.
Yeah, really appreciate it.
Yeah, we do. We appreciate that. We love your feedback any way that it comes. So thank you. Brannon, before we jump into our topic, we got a question that was actually submitted through therapybrothers.org.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to read that question, and that'll be the subject of our episode today. But before we do that, we are right up against it, man, where we've got Radiant Dawn just around the corner.
Now is the time to sign up. It's time to step into it, get yourself a spot and sign up. Because we're just like a little over a month out.
Yeah.
It's coming.
Yeah, we're right at a month. We're right at a month out right now. We have a lot of people already signing up, but we took a break from it for a year last year because we decided to do some other stuff with our time and our energy towards like some other forms of coaching and things for ourselves. And now we're back and ready to go, man. And it's one of the best things we do all year. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in this, it's a women's retreat that we have. It's all about healing from your own trauma, shame, kind of reconnecting with your true identity. It's kind of a spiritual walk. And it's a beautiful process. Radiantdawn.org is where you can learn more.
Take 3 days and walk out with a whole new perspective, and a bunch of support and life experiences that truly change your life. So we would love to have you.
All right, Brandon, let's jump into the topic today. This is an interesting one. We get this kind of question in lots of different forms, but I'm going to read the whole question and then we'll kind of come back and piece together a couple of different places we could go with it. Okay.
Sounds fun.
So it says, D-Day was 9 years ago. My husband is still acting out with porn almost daily. Currently in Reclaim Your Heart, and tells me this program and others like ARP, Men and Marone and I podcast, etc., teach him that he is worthy of love without changing a thing. Is he weaponizing that against me? He says he feels he has made changes, knows he needs to make more, but isn't implementing tools learned from therapy or your podcast, even the obvious ones like replacing numbing out on screens with healthy habits. He tells me he is entitled to sexual experience, and if I'm not willing to right now, he doesn't want to have an affair, so porn is the only option. He's looking to me for affection and love to help him get over his negative feelings, but I don't know how to be supportive and loving anymore. If he hasn't made significant changes after 9 years, is there really any hope? Addiction there before we married, things like strip clubs and acting out, 10 years into our marriage, and porn until now. We've been married 29 years.
Okay. That's a good question. There's a lot there.
Yeah, we could probably, we'll do our best to go where we feel like is the right way to go with this one. This could go probably 3 or 4 different directions and probably be productive. So,
well, and just a little caveat, whenever we get questions like this, we don't get the full story. So we get the question. And if we were to talk to him and get his perspective, talk to her and get her perspective, really understand what was going on, we might give different answers than what we talk about today.
These answers will be based off of patterns that we see and typical things that happen. So this is a pretty typical kind of a question that we get.
Yeah. So, so we'll dive into this the best that we can, and pull out the principles from it that we can, because there's a lot here.
Yeah. So let's start with the first line, because I think there's I think there's probably a kernel of truth in what's here, and there's probably a different kind of answer that you and I might give than what maybe this guy is interpreting in his brain when we say what we're saying. So she said, currently in Reclaim Your Heart, and he's currently in Reclaim Your Heart and tells me this program and others, she lists all the others, teach him he is worthy of love without changing a thing.
Yeah.
And then she says, is he weaponizing this against me? Right.
Depends.
So let's start with that line. Is it true, Brannon? Do we believe this, and do we teach this, that every single person that we work with is worthy of love if they change nothing?
Absolutely. 100%, no question.
So
Yeah.
so that's true. Like, we actually do believe that. You and I both believe that your value, your worth, no matter who you are, what station of life you're in, no matter what you've done, it does not absolve you of the innate like value as a human being that you are lovable.
Well, and I think even the person that wrote this question would agree with that. I think most people would say yes, that is the truth. That's an obvious truth. But what's interesting is for recovery, for someone struggling with an addiction, they definitely don't believe that, and they haven't for a long, long time. And so it's good to get that message. It's good to start to understand that and start to believe that. That's the work of recovery. The question is that being weaponized?
Yeah, right. So that new knowledge, and this is something to watch for in recovery in general. There's a form of denial that justifies staying stuck by weaponizing the knowledge that you gain in order to justify staying stuck. And we call that intellectualizing, where you go and take the knowledge you've gotten and then you use it for the wrong purposes. So that's possibly what's happening here, where he's taking the kernel of truth that we actually believe that he is absolutely worthy of love, and now he's using that on you and your relationship to back you off from the fact that he's still choosing bad decisions that aren't good for him or for your relationship. And then he's saying, but hey, like, I'm still worthy of love.
Well,
right?
So Tyler, let me give you some absurd examples and just kind of flush this out a little bit. Okay, this is absurd examples, and I'm doing this on purpose. Let's say an angel from God came down and told him, in this life, you are supposed to act out every day. Told you, absurd. In this life, you're supposed to act out every single day because that's who you are. That's how God made you, and you be you. What would be the right thing for him to do?
Well, if he wasn't schizophrenic.
I'm going somewhere with this.
I know. Then he should follow through on what God told him to do.
Why?
Because that would be like living in congruence with the core of like who I'm trying to be, which is someone who listens to my higher power and who lives according to those values.
Right. And if God tells me to do something opposite than what I'm doing, and I'm not in congruency, I'm not in alignment with that truth, then am I living as if I'm like perfectly loved?
No.
Right. So this is an important principle to understand. Now, why would you say no? How do we know that?
Well, because that's going to cause dissonance, and that dissonance is going to cause discomfort up to the point of suffering, because we induce our own suffering by not living in accordance with our stated values.
And then what are the repercussions of that? Like what's the fallout of that on relationships and things like that?
Well, from the inside out, it starts with a deeper wrestle with shame, increased anxiety, higher depression, and then it spills into relationships, less concentration, less self-confidence, less communication, less ability to be real and honest. And so it spills into like other places.
But hang on. But I go to this program and they say I'm loved.
Yes.
So I'm still loved even though I do all those things. So like can't I have like my cake and eat it too here? Can I have both?
Yeah, but and this is where I think there's like a separation or a gap that happens in the line of thinking is because I'm trying on this new belief that I'm loved no matter what,
Which is the truth.
which is the truth. I'm trying that on. I haven't actually gotten it to sink all the way into my heart enough to actually believe that I'm loved no matter what. So what I'm giving my wife is the thought process that I want to believe, but if I actually believed that that was true, what happens with beliefs? You actually act based on your beliefs. And so you would be acting in a way that's in accordance with taking good care of yourself because you're lovable.
Are you saying that you can actually use truth as denial?
This guy is right now for all intents and
Isn't that
purposes.
so that's fascinating though, because it really comes down to his intentions, like what's going on inside of him, because he's lobbing out there, I'm loved no matter what, which is true.
He's trying to exercise. He's now planted that seed and he's exercising, trying to grow that seed. But the only way he's currently exercising it is by using it to justify still doing all the things that rob him of the belief that he's lovable.
Right. Now, like I said, Tyler, we don't know everything that's going on here. What if he, in his heart of hearts, and let's say like he checks it out with his group, like he's working his recovery hard, and he doesn't actually feel like he's acting out, and it doesn't seem like he's acting out. But his wife is coming along and saying, "Oh yeah, you're relapsing, you're relapsing, you're relapsing." Then that's not denial, correct?
Well, he needs to own that and he needs to own it wholeheartedly so that she can then make decisions, which means that their marriage is probably over because his value system is not going to align with her value system in a way that can be conducive for them to have a close connected relationship.
Or there's got to be some shift in
Perspective one way or the other.
One way or the other, and an understanding of like, what does it mean to show up in your congruency and in your alignment and in relationship with me at the same time.
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
a challenge to that, Brannon, with this example you're using, because I see it all the time. When you've been living with layers of denial and you're just barely starting to peel those off, sometimes you come back to your partner and you say, this is just who I am. And even that is still laced with layers of denial. And then like 2-3 years down the road, they're back going like, oh my gosh, that's not actually who I am. Like,
but the
I did those
pendulum
things.
goes both ways. And this is where it becomes problematic, is when you come back to who I am as this non-sexual being who never has any feelings or thoughts or anything.
But that's not true either.
You're still lying.
Yes.
Or this is just who I am, and I'm going to go like look at porn for 4 hours a day, and it's just who I am. That's not alignment either.
Is that in alignment with actually loving yourself?
Right. Right. So the real question here, and it's interesting where we're getting here, Tyler. The real question is for this guy. Hopefully he listens to this. The real question is for him is his sexuality and what he does with his sexuality. What does it look like for him to be a powerful, healthy man who can create love with himself and others? What does his sexuality look like?
While embracing his sexuality.
While embracing it and stepping into it and owning it, versus using the truth that he is loved no matter what to justify compulsive behaviors that hurt him and his wife.
Right, exactly. That's probably some of the next step kind of wrestle in the process of recovery. And if to this partner who sent us this question, if I saw my partner taking ownership for that, going like, yeah, my behaviors don't line up with that belief, and this is what I'm doing to change. It may be messy and not perfect, but that effort would probably be enough to be like, okay, like I get that. But when it's being used as a weapon instead, and we'll get to this next part of the question, and it's laced with other layers of denial, you can see why this partner is feeling a little bit like beside herself and hopeless, going like, geez, I feel like I'm fighting a total uphill battle. And I'm almost being made to feel like I'm crazy a little bit.
For sure. It's a really difficult form of betrayal trauma, because it's like, he's basically saying I'm in recovery, so get off my back. And yet I'm acting out in this addiction constantly. So like it's hard to find hope there. It's hard to find hope of like, have a marriage where she can actually have her values valued and supported, of things like fidelity and trust and those type of things. It almost feels impossible when that's going on.
Yeah. And I think it's like, again, it's hard to parse out the pieces of truth from the denial, right? So let's go to the next level of this. And here's the next, let's help me and our audience, Brannon, pull out what might be true here and then show how it might be laced with denial. He tells me, because this is what you were just saying, he tells me he is entitled to sexual experiences. And if I'm not willing to right now, and he doesn't want to have an affair, porn is the only option.
Have you ever heard that one before, Tyler?
It's so funny to me that when you're dealing with someone with the addicted brain, they haven't even thought far enough ahead to realize that they're not going to die without sex.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even register to them that acting out, not acting out, is actually an option.
So here's the thing. There's so much in this, and when I hear that, I just think the layers of damage that it's doing.
But there's truth, Brannon, like what you just said. He's saying to her, hey, I'm a sexual being and I need to have sexual experiences.
That is true. But there's huge problems in what she's saying that he's saying. There's huge problems in it here. So yes, that's true, but don't take that, and this is where that is used as denial. Don't take that then to justify pressuring your partner and or acting out. Because pressuring your partner and treating her as if you're entitled to sex with her, which you're not. You're not entitled to sex with her.
Right.
That is not the truth. When you take that denial, that's what creates all kinds of problems. And guess what? It's getting you further away from healthy intimacy with your partner. So yeah, there's all kinds of things that will come from that will cause all kinds of problems.
You're doubling down on disconnection without knowing it, because you're putting pressure on a partner to be complicit in your addiction because you haven't come to understand that sexual intimacy is bigger than just like whatever it is you've been pursuing for emotional coping or filling the void or getting your answer from her that you're good enough. And so now you're being authentic, I put that in quotes, by demanding that this happen. And like, listen to the justification and blame. So there's blame in this. Like, if you won't sleep with me, it's not even a question. Like, my only other option is an affair or porn. Right. So what? Like, come on, bro. Like, you are a human being who can make your own decisions, and you can only decide porn or an affair.
Well, and listen what he's saying to her. He's saying, you're failing me. You're failing me. I want to pressure you, and I need to use you. I have to use you.
I need to use you.
That is not turning her on. That is not. Yeah. Let's think of the alternative. Like, because we talk about like that doesn't work. Like, let's just talk about what actually would work in this situation.
What's the truth? I am a sexual being with drives and desires.
It's beautiful. Yes, you are. That's all amazing. And that sexuality, it motivates you to create connection and love, hopefully, in a relationship. And so that's all good. Use that energy. It's amazing. You know, I'm a huge proponent of it, Tyler, right?
Towards that, well, you used a word that's different than how it's being used currently. And you said that works towards connection. Use that drive, use that desire to be put towards places that's going to move towards connection and deeper intimacy with your partner. And right now it's being used because of all the denial in a consumption way rather than a connection kind of a way.
Right. So like, think about this, and maybe this is like too much in a perfect world. Like, does this even exist? But think about if you were a man that trusted yourself, that knew that you were loved completely, just like we teach all the time. And you just were confident, and so much so that you weren't codependent with your partner. So you didn't get knocked off your rocker every look that she gave you or everything that she said. And you could just empathize with her. You could hold space for her. You could listen. You weren't defensive. You could have boundaries with her and be honest with her about who you are and what you need, and she just felt seen and safe, and just lucky to be with you, right? Um, now think if that were the case versus what we're hearing in this question. Now, are we guaranteeing sex in that moment?
No.
You need to not do that for the sex. It needs to not be about that.
You're saying to use your sexual desires, drives as fuel towards deeper intimacy, but it might not even end with sex.
Right. And then if you do it knowing that it might not even end with sex and not having that expectation, and you love her fiercely, you love her so much, and she just feels seen and loved, she's going to blossom, she's going to open, she's going to be there. And at least you give her a chance for that. There's no guarantee because she has her own stuff that she needs to work on and her side of the fence. But you become an asset to her to actually be like so vulnerable to the depths of intimacy. What he's doing is destroying what I'm talking about. Like the other side of what I'm talking about, the opposite. Right, Tyler?
Yeah, this is probably a terrible analogy, but it's what's coming to my brain right now, so I apologize in advance. I get the picture of like we've got this guy, he's got God-given built-in drives and desires of sexuality that are powerful, and they're being like kind of funneled in, like think of it coming from a fire hydrant out into a fire hose, and at the end of the fire hose there's a valve that keeps it closed like a firefighter has. And then that you open that valve and then the water goes wherever it's going to go, right? What this guy's doing is he's got the valve at the very end that's been closed. Now he's telling his wife that it needs to be open, but that it's her fault that it's closed. And now he's gone and dug a bunch of holes in the hose along the way. And there's just like leakage going out every which direction.
Yeah.
So that by the time it gets to the end, if there was anything left called intimacy, there'd be nothing left.
Yeah.
And he's pursuing like a physiological experience and trying to consume somebody, and then he's spending all of his energy in other places rather than channeling it and harnessing it into saying, this drive should lead me to want to take care of myself and others. So I'm going to use that drive to take care of my partner and myself in a healthy way. And it's okay that I would want sex with her.
Absolutely.
Right? Of course I want that. But when I let go of the expectation and I put that energy into the action of loving, that's the best chance for it then to become this upward cycle of connection where there's the pressure comes off of her. I'm viewing sexuality in a much broader perspective for the power that it is rather than the thing that I'm like a slave to. And then it can be used as a tool for deeper connection.
Right. That I actually love that analogy. And we see it all the time, Tyler. And it really is like I want to just kind of stop and give space for I understand why he's doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
When there's been an addiction, think of the combination of things that have gone on. I'm consuming women to feel good about myself in a fake way, right?
And especially through my sexuality.
Through my sexuality, I consume women to feel good. And when I consume women to feel good, it feeds and fuels my shame that I'm bad. And so then I turn to my partner to have them validate that I'm okay. And I try to force them to be intimate with me or have sex with me because I need to consume them to feel okay. They reject me. They don't want anything to do with me sexually, which feeds and fuels the shame. I'm not loved. I'm not seen. I'm not. And so one of the ways to defend against that shame is to turn toward it and to blame back and tell them that they're failing you. And then it's just a downward spiral from there. So where this starts, it's not about him just stopping this behavior, but it comes back to the first part of this question.
It's actually the very statement he's using against you is where this starts.
Yeah. But you said it, Tyler, where is he using it as a weapon, or is he genuinely knowing that he is loved?
Yeah.
And what is the gap between, because what I'm hearing in this question, like I said, I don't know them. I don't know what's actually going on here, but what I'm hearing from her question is there is something missed here in recovery that's not happening. The words are there, but the actual be has not shifted. And so there's trauma work in between. There's trauma in between actual shifting in terms of the way that he's going to show up with his wife, right?
That's exactly right. That's the work that's missing. That's why there's the language that turns into denial to justify old behaviors, because the actual deeper work is still hopefully in process. If not, it needs to be, but you got to it, Brannon. It's the shame and trauma work that's there. It's the statement of I'm actually lovable. I have to do the work to create space, to cultivate the ground in my own soul, to actually have it be possible that the seed that I'm lovable could be planted and sprout and grow. And that's going to come through trauma work, self-compassion, daily charge, like connection with other people, practice of vulnerability in places where I can be held and understood.
Get in our group.
It's all of that work that has to happen, because the pathway to deeper intimacy in your marriage is actually the pathway into the cave and out the other side of radical self-acceptance.
I can just hear it, and I don't know who this guy is at all, but it's like, yeah, but you guys just don't know. You don't know how difficult she is. You don't know how good my heart is, that I've been working recovery. I've been doing these programs. You guys just don't get it. Like, you have I have tried all of the things that you said. Like, I've tried it. And so now it's easier for me to give up, be in this victim place, and look at her and say, she'll never give me a chance again. And so my better option is to try to force all these things and to try to just go for it that way, rather than actually, like, because if I show up as the perfect guy that you're talking about, she's not going to give me a chance.
Yeah. Well, and the truth is that it probably will be a more delayed response than you want it to be if you were to do that. So it might get discouraging. Two thoughts to that, Brannon. From a very, very personal place, I've been this dude, like beating my head against a wall, like jamming up the end of my hose the whole time, blaming it on other people and situations, while I had other holes in the hose, putting all the energy in other places that didn't really yield good fruit. So from a very knowing place, I would say, if you are that guy who's saying what Brannon just said, I feel you. I understand that. And I will say that there is a different way. Like, there's absolutely a different way, and it includes the things Brannon's talking about right now. There's hope here. So that frustration, that hopelessness that you're feeling is a result of hearing those new things and then doing the same things over and over again, thinking you're hearing and doing the new things and saying you've done everything, when what you've really done is the same thing over and over again. Instead of actually stepping into a different stream, actually letting go of the expectation, the need, like, I've got to have this, it's like, no, like, there's a different pathway where you can keep and accept your sexuality without having it be the driver of your whole life. That's, talk about slavery. Like, think and look at the wake of destruction that it's left in your path. Like, it would be worth any work, any effort to learn to have not be the fuel source, the way that you're living it.
Right. Here's the scary thing, though, Tyler, is, and it's this sabotage that happens, and it happens on all sides of the fence. If he actually chooses real recovery, it could very well end this relationship.
Maybe.
Right.
That's why on both sides, the work you're talking about is actually applicable to both sides of this. Like, this partner who sent us this question, if she's not doing her own shame resiliency, if she's not doing her own trauma work, if she's not working in that path towards complete self-acceptance, then then she's never going to be able to be in a strong enough place to then accept whatever the reality is if and when it comes.
Exactly. So she's got to stay unhealthy enough to stay in the relationship, and he's going to stay unhealthy enough to stay in the relationship. And
then they can blame each other for being unhealthy, but never let each other go.
Exactly. And live in hell. And so here's the beautiful part of it. Whether you're the betrayed or the betrayer, is you actually have the option. You have an option here. You're not powerless in this situation. And that option is for you to say, you know what? Regardless of them, like whatever they're doing in their recovery, whatever they're doing, like I'm doing mine. I'm taking extreme ownership of myself, of my own healing, of my own peace, my own happiness. Like I'm taking ownership of that, and I'm going to go through a process that might be excruciating. I'm going to have courage. I'm going to step in. I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going all in. And I'm going to find myself and understand who I am. And hopefully my partner does that too, and we find out that we love each other, like we're pretty compatible. But that might not be the case. So
right, it kind of goes towards the bottom part of this question, and right where you're going, Brandon. Maybe we could spend a little bit more time on this. He said he's looking to me for affection and love to help him get over the negative feelings, but I don't know how to be supportive and loving anymore. And I'm suspecting part of what's causing you to not know how to be loving and supportive anymore is that you've tried to be loving and supporting and been complicit in the rules of the game that doesn't work. You've probably been the one to say, okay, well, let's have sex every day and that'll make you all better. But then all it is just an extraction from you every day, and you feel more empty, more resentful, more bitter. Of course, you're going to have less of a heart to love him. Whereas the effort really needs to be continually going and reconnecting every day to your values, and then making goals to step into those values in the way that you live your life every day, which by nature of that will lead to healthy boundaries. And when you have healthy boundaries, you can look at the situation from a fresh set of eyes that are actually still loving and say, oh, wow, like I don't want to be complicit in that part of it anymore. So I'm going to do this and this and this. I'm going to invite this kind of change this way instead of being complicit the way that I have been, thinking that I was helping things go right.
So right. Tyler, I gave an absurd example earlier. Now I'm going to give a stupid question.
Okay. All right.
Like, is that real? Is there actually women who have been betrayed in your groups and that you've worked with that have actually, in a way, broken away from that old toxic relationship, worked their own recovery and found some peace and healing unto themselves?
It's like, and I would add a word to that, Brannon. There's like inside that peace, there's like a groundedness that they find. And sometimes what's really interesting is when they work towards that peace and groundedness, sometimes it's a call into the relationship further, and sometimes it's a call out of the relationship further. So it actually works both ways. Think about this, like I remember this happening, probably at least 4 different women I talked to right at the end of our last Radiant Dawn retreat. One of them was like, I was like, how was your experience? And we're just kind of getting ready, saying our goodbyes or whatever. And she just said, like, I am in a total state of seeing my situation with a completely different set of eyes than I've ever seen. And she said, I'm going to go home and I'm going to do this and this and this. I'm going to have this conversation. And she said, it just feels right. And I never could have considered that would even be an option for me right now.
Yeah.
Right. Something shifted in her where she was going to go home. And that one actually ended up in a divorce.
Yeah.
Not because she went home and said, I want a divorce, but because she went home as a changed being and stepped into her life with that little bit of change, and it fostered some of the changes. Now, that was 2 years ago. If I were to go right now and talk to her and ask her again, she would say that she has no regrets about those decisions because she's still living in more of an alignment of congruency of who she is than when she was before she went.
Yeah.
Right. And we've had other women who, same thing, even that same event, went home and said, yeah, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to change this and this and this about our lives. And when they did, there was turbulence and turmoil because there was like an effort to try to pull it back to what it used to be. She held the line. She got some continued support and structure through it. And lo and behold, all of a sudden in him, he started going like, oh man, like I'm going to lose her unless like I maybe decide to take a look at my own stuff differently.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 years later, they're still working on a marriage and they're in a better spot now than they ever were. But that was because one person decided to start living more congruently to their values.
Mm-hmm.
And that congruence is an invitation for the people who want to come along. And it's the closing of a gate for the people who don't want to play that way.
Right. If I can give an example of this, years ago, I was working with this couple, and I met with them right when they were starting the whole process. And he, in a real humble, genuine way, he went and worked the 12 steps and set up his recovery capital, got a support system, and just really discovered his healthy masculinity and who he was again. Like his addiction, like really blessed his life because he went and worked recovery, and it was awesome. It's one of the best things to see, right? Fast forward, it was like 3 or 4 years later from where he started, and she was working on her recovery, but she came in and she's like, I love him. I am so blessed to be married to him. And he just shows up for me in all the ways. And I don't want to have sex with him, like, ever. And I need to do my own trauma work. Like, I gotta work on me here. And she wasn't gaslit and manipulated into coming into therapy with me because he was pressuring her to have sex with him at all. Like, that wasn't there at all. And so she was coming in with this heart really full of love toward him and a real desire to be intimate with him, and knowing that she had her things in the way that were hers. And she had this childhood trauma that we needed to work through. We did some amazing EMDR sessions with her, which broke free a lot of this stuff and helped them actually practice intimacy together. Now, as I'm telling this story, Tyler, you can see how partnership can work in a different way than what we usually hear, which is, my spouse is this is what we usually hear. My spouse is unhealthy and annoying. If they would change, I'd be happier. Right?
Yeah.
Um,
They're the object of my pain.
yeah.
And we hear it from both sides. That's
They're-
exactly what it is.
They're the object of my pain. If they would do something different, then we would be good. But the reality is, look at this couple I just gave the example. What did both of them do?
They actually, this sounds weird because it actually invited the better relationship as both of them turned inward and said, how do I help things go right?
Yes, that's well put.
So now and helping things go right is, what is my accountability in this for my own good health, my own life? And when I do that, I am offering up the invitation for someone who wants to be on the same kind of spiritual path that marriage is to come along with me, and we can learn and grow together, even if it's bumpy and messy.
In general, when I hear the entirety of this question, I hear a system that is quite overattached and codependent, and on both ends. He's playing this, like, this instrument the way he knows how. he's pushing the buttons here and pushing them there. He's working his recovery there, but like acting out over here. Like, he's orchestrating something quite.
Think of the effort that's going into that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of effort. He's got to be tired.
Yes, but there's a part with her, and this is why she asked the question. And the good news here for her is that if the question in the end with all of this is what should I do? What do I do with this? Where do I go? The good news is that she actually has an option to shift the way things are going and what's getting created in her relationship. But she's going to have to face a fear. And what's that fear?
I think it's like one of the biggest fears we all have, which is that if I actually step into my authenticity, the person that I've spent the last 29 years with might reject me.
Even when I'm in hell with that person, right? Isn't
Yeah.
that crazy?
But
Like, I'm
I
worried.
at least have a person that's pursuing me by telling me everything that I'm doing wrong. Whereas on the other side of that, I might have nobody.
I at
And
least have some financial stability. It doesn't look bad to the neighbors that we got divorced. It doesn't hurt our kids. It doesn't, like, all of the repercussions of you getting healthy yourself. Like, there's so many repercussions that could happen. So this is why we turn back and be like, well, dude, why don't you just change? Why don't you change? And then right?
yeah,
She's done that long enough. She's been in this a long time.
9 years. No wonder she's like feeling so hopeless, and like she's asking the question, is there really any hope after 9 years? I think, do you hear that question? Do you hear the energy behind that?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, and now I'm still here waiting for him to change. And that's okay. Like if God's telling you to wait, then go back to God and ask, what do I do in the meantime? If God's telling you to go, then go back to God and say, help me figure out how to do that. Um, and I imagine that in both cases, in most cases, at least what we see with our clients, is the answer to that question is going to say, start taking better care of yourself. Start stepping into your values. Start accepting your true identity. Stop waiting for him to be the one that's going to be the answer to your identity and your happiness. I've always thought this is really weird. Like in these relationships, when there's the toxic part of the addiction that's involved, is the person who's not doing the addictive things, they're still going to the toxic person and trying to get their value from them, their acceptance from them. And it's like you're going into like a tub of toxic sludge to dig around in there to try to find the answer that you're good enough. Instead of like saying, I'm not going into that toxic sludge anymore. I'm going to go on a quest to get my answers somewhere else.
But there's this weird thing of, if I keep going into that toxic sludge, I can preserve things not changing too drastically in my life. And that's where it's an instinctual thing as a human to try to protect that. And so and this is the pain point that we always get from people, is like, I got to live in this toxic sludge and I'm tired of it and I don't know if I can keep doing it. And it's like this, Tyler. Here's another analogy for you. If I had a heart condition and I could either go in and get surgery and there's a 50% chance that I'll die, or I can like die a slow, painful death. That one that's going to just, I can't go on hikes. I can't live a life. I can't really just do what I want to do. And it's going to just take me eventually. What's my best option?
I think that's the question every person should be asking. Like in this scenario right now, according to this question, like you said, we don't have all the details. We are on the pathway to a slow, painful death.
That's what that question's showing.
It's like we're going to
they've been on that pathway.
We've been together for 29 years, and we've probably got another decade or two ahead of us. And according to this question, the way the dance is happening, what you will learn is, you have the opportunity to learn what it's like to have a lot of suffering. And hopefully you'll become out a better person for that. Or you'll say, you know what, 9 years, there isn't a lot of movement on the needle. I've been waiting for him to be the answer, and doesn't look like he's going to be the answer, at least for the next few decades. So I should start taking a look at myself and figuring out what the answer is for me. And I'm going to start inviting things to go right there, because I still want connection in my relationship. So I'm going to start conceptualizing what a healthy relationship is. And on my side, I'm going to start acting like that. And he will either come along or he won't.
Yeah.
And I will either die a quick, swift death in the relationship. In the next 2 to 3 years, it'll be over and we'll be in a different spot of grief, pain, misery, suffering, consequence, financial struggles. And I'll be free, ready to move on with the next 2 decades of my life. Or we'll maybe just be right where we're at. And maybe that's okay too. but I'm going to accept that if I stay and I don't do something different for myself, then I'm choosing that.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing about it is, Tyler, you and I can't like get people to do things, because when you say maybe that's okay too, I want to be like, no, it's not. No. Like
it has to be. People do it all the time, Brandon. So it has to be okay, because like people choose to do it. There's got to be some reason for doing it.
But it's our job to reflect back. In choosing to do that, you're choosing to suffer. And just know that. Just know that that's what you're choosing into. And ask yourself, when we talk about him being in congruency, in alignment, is that in your alignment to choose suffering, to choose living in denial, to choose staying in toxic sludge? And we're not suggesting go get divorced. Like we're not saying that. What we're saying is step up into your power as a human being. And you might go through a time where it's hard change. It's the messy middle. It's conflict, it's struggle, it's pain in that relationship. And that's getting you to where you actually want to be in that relationship. And so it is being done with the relationship as it is, and choosing your recovery, your individual recovery, hoping that that relationship survives. And if it doesn't, you'll still be okay. You'll still be better off.
Doing the work to trust that you'll be okay.
Yeah.
Because you're connected to your own heart, mind, and soul. You're connected to a higher power, and you're making decisions based from that grounded place.
Yep.
It always turns out okay, even if it turns out like in really rough ways. It's always still okay when you've done it in that order. Get grounded to yourself, to God, and then make your decisions.
Yep. This has been a really good discussion, Tyler. We pulled a lot out of this, and I hope that if both of them listen to this, that
he's in Reclaim Your Heart, so he's gonna be listening to this.
Yeah. And I would guess he's a great guy. And I would guess she's a great woman too.
Hopefully he gets on Reclaim Your Heart and starts up a discussion around it. That'd be great.
I would guess they're both wonderful people, but real recovery is not happening. And let's call a spade a spade. It's time to go to the depths of things. It's time to step over the thresholds of the scariest parts and deal with them, so that you can truly love and love each other.
Yeah. I'd say to him, if this description is accurate, do more than listen to the podcast. Go do the healing journey, especially section 2, and don't worry about having sex with your wife until you completed section 2.
And you might have sex with her during that time, but don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry
about it.
Put all of your energy through the fire hose towards section 2.
Actually truly work section 2, and then let's see what happens.
Yeah.
We challenge you. Don't just sign up for it, and don't just be like, I'm in it. And actually truly follow through and do it.
I'd love to be a part of that journey with you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you to everybody who's here listening. We hope that this is valuable to you. I know it elicits a lot of different kinds of responses, especially with topics like this. We'd love to hear from you. And you can do that through writing reviews or going to therapybrothers.org and submitting a question or typing in a response. So again, thank you for being here. Until next time, keep on keeping on.